I'm Renee York.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of KFNN staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. It's time for the Real Estate Power Hour, brought to you by Arizona Investment Link. To join the show, call now, 602-324-KFNN. That's 602-324-5366. Or outside the Phoenix area at 1-800-293-KFNN. Now, make sure your seatbelts are fastened and your chair is in the upright position, because it's time for the Real Estate Power Hour with Jason LaFleche and Brandon Cox.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Estate Power Hour. This is a live interactive show right here on your station, 1510 KFNN. I'm Jason LaFleche, sitting here with the one, the only, that's right, Brandon Cox with Arizona Investment Link. Brandon, what do you think of this?
I like the new place. I don't know about you, but hospitality is great, and it's good to have a new home.
Hey, we're glad to be picked up by 1510 KFNN, the powerhouse. We've had 6 years of radio experience on another local show, but to come here and reach out to the listeners that really need to hear what we do on a day-to-day basis, I'm excited. I'm fired up. What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at it as a whole untapped oil well that we just need to educate people on and share with them our services and blow their minds.
No question about it. The live call-in number, 602-324-5366. Again, it's 602-324-5366. And if you want to call us off air, get a hold of us at 602-369-4663. Let's jump right in. Who we are, Brandon. Arizona Investment Link. You can get a hold of us at arizonainvestmentlink.com on the web and check us out. But we are foreclosure auction experts. This is what we do every single day of the week.
Are there foreclosures going on out there in this market, Jason?
Well, I don't know. I've heard a little bit about it, haven't you?
Yeah, but I think I heard something about that on TV or the newspaper the other day.
Foreclosure auction experts. And what we do, Brandon, what we'll do in this first segment is we got to let the listeners know what we do on a day-to-day basis. So why don't we dive right in? Why don't we start with exactly what a trustee sale is. Now, don't get me wrong, at Arizona Investment Link, we handle short sales, bank-owned type properties as well. You can get into that. Go ahead and get into that a little bit, Brandon, as far as the short sale into things.
Well, short sales when the current owner of the property owes more than what they can sell it for. So that's where they need the bank's approval to basically sell the home, and the note's going to be short. Hence the term, the name, short sale. An REO or a bank-owned property is just that. The bank owns the property. That means that the home was foreclosed on, but nobody picked it up at the trustee sale or the auction, and now the bank's holding on to it. And last time I checked, banks are in the business of doing loans and making money, not property management. So they're anxious to get rid of those properties as well.
That's exactly right. So let's break this down. Trustee sale 101, shall we? The definition of that, a foreclosure sale is conducted by a trustee under the stipulations of a deed of trust. When a deed of trust is exercised, a specific trustee is designated. Upon default, which is what's happening nowadays now, more often than not, the trustee is authorized to foreclose the mortgage and put the property up for a trustee's sale. Now, this is where we come in. The proceeds of the sale are distributed by the trustee according to the priorities listed in the deed of trust, whether there's a first lien, second lien, or even a third lien position. So it's kind of interesting. But, yeah, at the courthouse steps, whether it's downtown or out in Pinal, this is what we specialize in on a day-to-day basis. And, we talk to people out in Pinal, some of these outlying areas. It's interesting with what we've done. We've done hundreds of these deals over the last couple years out in Pinal alone. But picking up properties, Brandon, $18 to $30 a square foot at the sale?
Well, and that's, for those folks out there who aren't sure that the market has bottomed out, in the areas that we're getting the homes at $18 a square foot, if they go any lower than that, then, homes are going to be practically free. So we're confident that the market's showing signs of strength and bouncing back, and, there's a lot of positives out there. So now's the time to get in the game. If somebody's going to do it, now's the time. The clock's kind of been turned back for us, to where, we saw the prices jump up a few years ago, and now they've come back down. So now's the time to get on one of these things and go with it.
Right. I've been selling real estate out here in the Valley since I was 22, getting out of ASU, and that was back in '94. And back then, when interest rates were 8.5%, 9%, I mean, prices back then in a lot of these areas, I was selling up near Arrowhead Ranch. It's almost like turning back the clock. Like you said, I mean, prices now that we're getting them at auction is similar to what we were paying for homes back in the mid-'90s.
Right, so it's a no-brainer. If you didn't learn your lesson the first time when prices jumped up and, there were some opportunities to make some good money then, I mean, essentially it's a perfect storm for all of that stuff to happen again and, to really see some of these opportunities that are out there because there are a lot of them.
Right. Well, I mean, not only to be able to pick these properties up at auction at such fantastic values, but even on the conservative retail market when we do flip these things, with the combination of the prices on the retail market and then, like you said, the perfect storm with interest rates to where people can take advantage. I mean, first-time home buyers getting into these properties. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I guess the only reason why you wouldn't is if you didn't have the money to do so. But I know there's a lot of listeners out there who might be getting tired of the roller coaster with the stock market. And God bless the stock market because it keeps us busy with a lot of those clients that have basically said enough's enough.
Right.
I'm going to do something that's a little more secure, a little more predictable. And, that's where we come into play.
Cash flow opportunities, big time. We'll get into that more later in the show. 602-324-KFNN, 602-324-5366 is the call-in number. Brandon.
Jason, I know a lot of people out there see the opportunities, but they might not know how to act. How do I take advantage of some of these homes at the courthouse steps? I've heard about it on the news. My buddy knows a buddy who knows a buddy who's doing this and flipping homes. And what would be the main reason to keep that person from doing it on their own?
Well, we'll be going through this, every single week that we're on the show, but a lot of people out there, and we run into them almost on a daily basis that try to do this on their own. You hear the horror stories where people are actually going to the courthouse steps on their own. They get a list, let's say, from another bidding service out there with hundreds and hundreds of homes on it. They don't know where to start and where to end. They see a great opening bid. They go at the courthouse. They don't know what they're doing. They don't do title searches, back tax searches. More importantly, find out if it's a first lien or a second lien position. A lot of these properties that you see on these lists, that opening bid could very well be a second lien position.
And you don't have to buy too many properties with a second lien before you figure out that that's not a good thing to do.
Well, again, like you said earlier, if you didn't learn the first time with this real estate market on how volatile it can be and what signs to look for, and you don't learn the first time when you buy a home at the auction and you buy a second, you're never going to learn. So, but all it takes is one time. You buy a second, and then all of a sudden you find there's a first on there for $100,000 plus that you have to pay to own that property. Not a good recipe. That's a recipe for disaster, as a matter of fact. So,
right, and that's the thing. I think time comes down to it as well. Whether you're a school teacher, an accountant, maybe you work construction or whatever the case may be, you might not have the expert knowledge to take advantage of some of these opportunities that are out there. But by allowing us to kind of be your experts for you, you step into